Deuteronomy 25, verses 11 and 12. If two Israelite men are fighting, and the wife of one tries to rescue her husband by grabbing the testicles of the other man, her hand must be cut off without pity. Holy crap. How is this book talking about genitalia again? This is so creepy. Also, why that punishment? That's really, really weird, don't you think? Like that's a little intense of a punishment. And how often exactly was this happening back in that time that they felt like they needed to waste valuable space writing this down? I don't know, but if anybody out there has any answers to these questions, or just think that the Bible is a good book at all, you should call us because the show's starting right now. Woo! That is right, folks. We are back for another episode of the Atheist Experience. Today is July 23rd, 2023, and I am your host, Secular Rarity, and joining me today is the legend himself, Dave Warnock. What is up, man?
I just want to know how that's the go-to move for the wife when she just says, "I'm going to grab this guy by the balls,"
right?
And where's that a go-to move for the women? I don't understand that whole concept there.
It's very strange, honestly. And you know what? what really gets me is how apparently this book is still the foundation of all that is good and right in the world.
Yes.
I just don't understand it. I don't know, man, but maybe somebody else out there today can give us a call
And
help
all
us
of our
explain.
all of our morality is based upon this book, according to the Christians that I
That's right.
talk to.
That's right. You know
But
what's
whatever.
weird?
What do we know? What do we know?
I haven't heard of a lot of people getting their hands cut off without pity. Have you,
No.
Dave? Have you seen
No.
any? Yeah.
Usually it's with pity when you do that. You cut them off and then you feel bad about it.
At least a little,
Yeah,
right?
a little pity
I
to go
mean,
along with that.
super
Yeah.
super creepy stuff.
It's
But again,
creepy.
if you have a good explanation for why that verse is in the Bible, or maybe like how this book is supposed to make us more moral, well, call us because we have open lines and we've already got a couple of really good calls. But remember, we have more space and we want to talk to you if you are a believer of any stripe. So 512-991-9242, or you can always hit us up on the web at tiny.cc/call-AXP. And before we go any further, let me remind you that the Atheist Experience is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. I can honestly say that one sentence alone is better than like 95% of the Bible, right? I mean,
Easily.
it's amazing how you could just write so much garbage all in one spot. But again, maybe somebody out there will correct us, Dave.
Yeah, we want to hear from you. If you can defend the Bible and you can justify verses like that, I doubt that you have that one on your refrigerator. I always used to call, there's certain verses in the Bible that I call them refrigerator verses. I doubt that's one of them. But show us how that's good. Call us and let us know why the Bible makes more sense to you than it does to us.
Yeah. Yeah. And while we are waiting for those calls to come in and our lines to fill up, let's go to the share your experience from last week. So you guys know out there, every week we are giving you a prompt. We are asking you a question and we want your answers in the comments below the video. And then right at the beginning of the show, next week, we show up those answers and we talk about what our wonderful viewers have said. So last week, we asked you to write a slogan for God. So this is awesome. And here are the top 3 answers. Coming in number 3, we've got Mr. Yellow with God's slogan, hate what you create. I like that. It's
pretty good.
It's straight to the point. And it feels really true. Again, just thumbing through this book. And yeah, that definitely comes out to me. Number 2, we've got Mitcho Mitch. God's slogan, let me come inside you. You know, they talk about that a lot, you know, being like washed over with the Holy Spirit, you know, just filling you up. And there's definitely
come quickly, Lord Jesus.
That's right. That's right. And finally, number 1 from Brian Tamblin, God's slogan, maybe he's born with it, maybe it's make-believe. I like that. I like that. It is true. That is true. And so we, as always, we have another question for you. So remember, folks, underneath the video, not in the live chat, but in the comment section, give us your favorite answer to this, and you might see your answer on screen next week. But I'm going to throw it to you first, Dave. So we're asking, what Bible verse sounds dirty? What do you think?
Yeah, the one we just, I'm glad I've been a non-student of the Bible now for about a dozen years. So it's starting to fade away from me, and I'm really glad about that, because 10 years ago I could have pulled something out pretty quickly. But I think the one that you just read to open the show is pretty good. I mean, when women are going around grabbing men's balls to try to stop a fight, that's pretty dirty. That's dirty. That's playing dirty. Let's just call it that.
It's literally below the belt.
Below the belt, literally.
Gosh, man. Got him, guys. Got him. I think we're done here. That was with that one right there on. I'm really proud of that one. I'm sure nobody else is laughing watching it, but whatever. That's fine. So remember, folks, to get your answers in the comment section below. Give us what you think is your favorite one. And if you're gonna mention the one about the emissions like donkeys, we know, we've heard it all before.
Yeah, I didn't want to go to that one, because we're kind of done with that one.
It's too on the nose, right?
Yeah, it's too easy.
I feel like everything I have such a bad mind. I feel like everything now we're saying is framed in this context. It all sounds gross to me. But anyway, get your comments in the comment section below this video. And yeah, check us out next week, right at the beginning of the show, to see if one of your answers is chosen. So I think we have had enough fun already, Dave, and it's time to grab a call. What do you think?
Go for it.
Let's go talk to Peter. Him in Massachusetts wants to talk a little bit about the Bible. Hey, Peter, you're chatting with SR and Dave Warnock. What's up?
Hi there. It's my first time calling. This is really great.
Hey, glad to have you, man.
Okay. All right. To jump right in, a couple just references to the Bible. In Matthew 25, there's the discussion of separating the sheep from the goats. Now, that's about separating the true Christians from those with the false beliefs.
Yep.
All right. Number 2, there's, you shall have no gods before me, and not taking the name of the Lord in vain. All that's about blasphemy, and there's the line about blasphemy against the Holy Spirit is the one unforgivable sin. Now, we also have that God is ineffable. So you cannot understand him perfectly. You cannot have perfect knowledge of him. So we put it all together. What do we have? If your image of God is less than perfectly correct, and if you're going to take that viewpoint and say, I am absolutely correct in every little point, what you're doing is you're telling God who he has to be. Well, if you're not right, that's a false God.
Sure.
And
yeah.
You have that. Yeah.
Go ahead.
That level of arrogance, that's the blasphemy. That's where you really need to be humble. If you're going to be able to say, you know, I have some ideas and I'm going to believe, and I can do it with humbleness, then you're going to be able to actually get somewhere and have your faith, and that's fine. It's kind of like with science. You don't say, science is truth. There's nothing but truth, and I have it all. You say, okay, I have some ideas, I have some theories, and you know what? I could be proven wrong.
Sure.
This is an argument against motivated reasoning. Once again, I'd
kind of let me jump in for a second here, Peter, because I think Dave and I would probably agree pretty heartily with you. We were never more arrogant in our lives than when we thought absolutely everything in this universe was designed for us personally, right? It is one of the absolute heights of arrogance to believe that all of the galaxies in the universe, right? That all of the billions of ants and beetles that exist in this world, that somehow all of that was made specifically with the thought of like you and me chatting it up here one day, Peter. Like it's nonsensical. And not only that, I think the danger comes in when you do elevate yourself and your own knowledge and experience to such a degree, right? One of the things that's so amazing about the scientific method and how we do science in general, right? It's the fact that we're getting checked by other people. It's that humbling experience of somebody else coming in and going, man, I actually followed the recipe perfectly, and this is not a good cake. Like this cake sucks, man. You know, you used a bunch of salt instead of a bunch of sugar, so it's terrible. That's one of the most valuable things in life, in my opinion, is just getting that moment where you have to step back and recognize like you don't know it all, you know. But yeah, I think kind of like what you said, a lot of times believers do have that feeling, and that's why they tend to ask these questions about atheism, quote unquote, that just go all over the board. Like I get asked all the time about like abiogenesis, and it's like I don't know why people have this desire to have a single answer that fits into every single slot out there. You know, that to me again seems a little haughty. It seems a little arrogant. It seems like one would do better by just taking a step back and recognizing that the world is much bigger and things are more nuanced. But let me chuck it over to Dave real quick and get some of his thoughts on this. We'll give it right back to you, Peter.
Yeah, fundamentalism of any kind is arrogance personified. When to your point, secular, when I was a believer, I was fundamentalist evangelical. I believed that what I believed was the absolute right way to believe, and anyone who didn't believe like me was wrong in some regard. Even other born again Christians, if they weren't charismatic, if they didn't have the power of the Holy Spirit like I supposedly did, then they were just getting it a little bit more wrong than me. And it is the height of arrogance to think that whatever our position is on anything is the only correct position. I know there are Christians, there are people of faith who don't hold these fundamentalist views. They're more open-minded. They might say something like, well, I believe in God this way, but if you believe in him differently or in a different God, then I'm okay with that because I may be wrong. I have more tolerance for that kind of faith, even though I'm someone who believes that we'll be better off as humans, in the world, if there were no religions at all, if there was no faith, if we just lived by logic and reason and what the evidence showed us. But if there has to be some kind of faith somewhere, I'd rather it be more of the open-minded variety rather than the arrogance of believing or even knowing. I mean, the evangelicals in my life, my family members and so on, they will tell you if you ask them that their worldview is 100% correct, and anyone who differs from that is just wrong. I mean, there's just nothing more arrogant than that. And this God of the universe thinks I'm really special, by the way, that I'm the apple of his eye and I'm formed in his image and all that bullshit. And this God listens to everything I say and, oh yeah, watches everything I do all the time. This God's eyes are on me and on every person in the world. And that's just more nonsense than I can wrap in my little pea brain. The arrogance of belief in this fundamentalist framework is just off the charts, and I don't even know what to do with it anymore. When I talk to people who are 100% convinced that and I'm not convinced there's no God. I just don't see evidence enough to believe in one. I'm not sitting here saying as an atheist that I believe there's no God. I'm saying I don't believe there's a God. And we do this show and shows like this, inviting you to call in and give us enough evidence to cause maybe one of us, maybe secular will cave in today. Maybe I will. If the evidence is that strong, call us, show us. And we might open our minds to believe. My mind is open. My mind is not closed. I'm not telling everyone I've got it locked up. I know what's right and what's wrong. I think the most humble words you can say is I don't know. And I'm okay saying that all the time about a lot of things.
Yeah.
What I'd extend that to include is the fact that if God is willing to accept people for the level of understanding they truly have, and if he really doesn't appreciate being told who he is, then statistically, if you were to look at the population of the United States, there would probably be more atheists who just say, hey, I don't know, I'm open, but I don't know. More of that type of atheist in heaven than actual people who are Christians making claims about understanding. We may actually outnumber them.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a good point there, Peter. And Dave said it just a second ago, which is, you know, there really hasn't been anything that has given us cause to actually accept this claim that God exists, right? But even if we, just for the hypothetical sake, right? Even if we say, let's play the mental game and let's try and go down this route, we very quickly get to a place like you're talking about, Peter, where it seems that this concept has all this baggage down the road that we now have to answer for, when if we just take the other route of, hey, maybe it's just not there, none of that other crap comes up, right? Because exactly what you said, like, now, Peter, we've got to ask all these questions about, like, well, what does God really do, you know, with the non-resistant non-believer? Like, not that person that's like running out there saying, you know, God definitely doesn't exist, but just that person who sits at home on a Sunday and is like, I don't know, probably not. I'm not going to live my life like it. I'm just going to try to be a good person. You know, is that person going to be tortured forever in hell? Is that person going to be poofed out of existence? Is that person going to be made to praise this deity for the rest of existence? Like, I just don't know. And the reason I think I don't know on that stuff is a little bit different than the reason I don't know on some other things, like the beginning of the universe or abiogenesis, right? I don't know on the abiogenesis side, because we have a lot of different potentials, but we don't really have anything that's like concrete. Again, that pushes us over into that, yes, I accept this. But then when it comes to all this God supernaturally stuff, the reason that I have to say I don't know is because there seems to be conflicting understandings. And I seem to be standing in front of two people who both, you know, are genuine. At least it seems like they both say that they're followers of Christ. They both say that, you know, they love Jesus and the church and yada yada yada, and they read the book and they understand. But then there's contradiction, and again, that contradiction doesn't exist for those of us who live in a world where we aren't constantly trying to figure out how this makes sense with an all-powerful deity that somehow lets a sports team win but kills children. It's confusing, honestly. I don't know that there really is a good answer.
Priorities.
That's right. That's right. That's right. This God's moral compass is definitely pointed in the right direction. Yeah. But yeah, what'd you think on all that, Peter?
I can get on board with all that. Makes perfect sense. There's so much irrelevancy in the requirements of so many believers. Like you mentioned, abiogenesis. On a daily basis, abiogenesis really doesn't impact my life. I expect that there's going to be more answers coming down the pike, and we have a fair bit, but yeah, there's so much work that's being done by what we do not know after having looked for it for a short period of time, compared to how much we don't know after religion has been searching for millennia.
Yeah. Yeah. Weird how we've made a lot of progress in the last 50 years in things like, I don't know, just electronics or medicine. or every other field out there except for theology. It's just really weird how that's been the case. But yeah, Peter, I think Dave and I are definitely in agreement with you, and we're gonna go grab some other calls and move on. But we do appreciate you giving us a shout, and we hope you'll call back in the future. We always love having some good calls. We do also really love speaking with our theist brothers and sisters out there. So again, look, Dave and I have said some inflammatory things already. I think, if you disagree with them, or you think that you have really solid proof, and Dave and I would convert right here on screen if given good reason. We wouldn't want to waste a moment. We could die tomorrow, and we would hate to not spend the rest of our lives in heaven with the Almighty. But if nobody calls, I guess we'll just stay being heathens and corrupting the world and whatnot. But 512-991-9242 or tiny.cc/call-AXP. You can convince us, and I guess win you some points in heaven. Do you get a better spot in heaven if you convert more people? Is that how it works?
More
Dave?
crowns, more
crowns.
crowns in your
That's
jewels,
what it is.
and a bigger mansion.
That's what it is. Totally makes sense.
That whole thing about the mansions. That's
yeah.
I think the televangelists have taken that one literally.
Yeah, right.
They're getting their mansion here.
For some of them, I've heard that they didn't take any money from the church. They just sold books, and that's how they got all their money, totally legitimately, not
yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, we have a super chat. $2 from Will Dwyer says, my neighbor has a yard sign with a verse on it. I'm assuming it's one of those nice, sweet verses like Dave was talking about. I wonder how much it would cost to get a yard sign printed up with some of those not as sweet verses, the delighting in the bashing of baby skulls on the rocks. Like, that'd be pretty fun to put
that'd
out
get your
there.
neighbors riled up.
It would.
I want to know what that verse is that your neighbor's yard sign has.
Yeah. Tell us what that verse was, Will. We'd love to hear it. And before we grab our next call, I am going to remind you about something that is coming up, and it is super duper cool. If you've never heard of it, there's a little place called Austin, Texas. And in Austin, Texas, every late spring, early summerish, there's just a whole bunch of bats. And this year, on August 26th, the annual Bat Cruise for the ACA is coming back. And so you can join all of the wonderful people at the atheist community of Austin and chat it up with like-minded free thinkers, hang out, look at bats, look at the water, look at the scenery. It's actually really beautiful around there. But you can meet some wonderful people like Forrest, Valkai, J. Mike, and other hosts of the Atheist Experience. I think Kelly might even be there. If that's not true, Kelly will yell at me in the Discord after show. But come hang out with all of your favorite people as you travel around Lady Bird Lake. And at the end of this awesome 2-hour cruise, it will pause at the Congress Avenue Bridge at sundown for the emergence of the world's largest urban bat colony. So get your tickets right now at tiny.cc/bat cruise. It will definitely be worth it, you guys. There is literally 1 million+ bats. Like, it's insane. It's a lot of bats. It's weird. It's like, I don't know if they all called each other one day years ago and were just like, this is a really nice place to roost.
Have you been to that?
I was down there when I was down at I didn't get to hang out on the Bat Cruise, but I got to go and see it one night just by myself. And it was absolutely awesome. It's absolutely worth it. Like, they come out in this little spiral pattern thing. It's really, really cool.
We did the Bat Cruise a couple of years ago, and the cruise was great, and it was great hanging out with everybody. But full disclosure, the bats don't always cooperate, and they didn't that night. And
that is true. They are live animals, and sometimes
there were people actually asking for their money back. So we may need to make a disclaimer here that we can make no guarantees.
That's true.
But for the most part, the fun was just hanging out on the boat and being with everybody. But
exactly,
it's really beautiful. So if you have a chance to go and be a part of that Bat Cruise, you should take advantage of that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And you'll love Austin too. It's a really great city. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. And before we grab our next call, We got $10 from Thomas Watcher saying,
Thomas.
I have met both Dave and SR. They are both beautiful and wonderful people. I send love and peace to both. Thank you so much, Thomas. And yes, you are a pretty darn good guy too, man. I know
Good to
that
see you,
was,
Thomas.
yeah, it was
We
a
met
lot
him
of fun.
at NanoCon last year.
Yeah, it was a great time, man, and I'm excited for the next one next year. So, but we have it looks like we've got Mason, he, him in Florida wants to give us some evidence for God. So great, Mason, that is what we are here for. You're chatting up with Secular Rarity and Dave Warnock. What you got?
Hey guys, how are we doing?
Good.
Hey,
how are
Mason.
you?
I got into a argument with, well, it wasn't an argument. It was a friendly conversation with a atheist, and me being a theist, we basically got to a point of a checkmate because in a conversation, we heard Matt Dillahunty talk about love, and on one of his episodes there. But I want to ask you before I start this: do you guys have like maybe a dog, let's say a pet dog?
I don't have any pets.
Yep.
No pets. Okay. How about kids?
I got a pet. I got kids.
Dave does, but I also kind of feel like you're gonna ask about like love and stuff, and like I have that. I have friends and family, so it probably counts. But yeah, go ahead.
I didn't. I start off with pets because I don't want to assume that you got.
Do you love anything secular? Is there anyone or anything you love?
I am completely devoid of both love and friendship. But no. Go ahead. What you got for us, Mason?
Well, I would say that's a bad thing about being an atheist. No, if you're admitting that you love your dog, let's say, there's a belief there that Matt Dillahunty bases it on chemicals in your brain. Like he just boils it all down to that, which I've heard him say in one of the episodes. And the problem with that is you say you love your dog or you say you love something, but you can't demonstrate it. Okay. The only thing you can say are the chemicals in your brain.
Okay.
But we don't know how those chemicals really work.
Do you think that me, let's just say, because again, I don't have a dog, so I have no consequences. I have no dog in this fight. I should have gone with that one first. Doesn't matter.
You missed it.
I know. I'll be anyway. But Mason, do you think like me going out of my way on a regular basis, spending, let's say, like, I don't know, a fourth of my income to take care of this animal and give it the best life for, I don't know, decades? Do you think that's probably a decent demonstration of love?
Okay, so much like somebody that goes out of their way and reads the Bible and goes to church every Sunday. And
absolutely not analogous at all, because the dog is something that absolutely everybody else can verify in a myriad of ways. Whereas the only thing that we can verify about the person going to the church or reading the Bible is that the book and the building are real. The thing that they're actually talking about and supposedly having love for and with, there is no demonstration.
If you wanted to say that you gave your money, Mason, if you wanted to say that you gave your money because you believe in the church and you love the church, you love the pastor and you want to provide him a salary or be a part of providing him a salary, you love the church building and you want to have a place to go to, so you chip your money into the pot to make that possible, then you have an analogy to the dog that you're buying food for and taking to the vet. But to say that you're going to church and reading your Bible and praying because you love God that you can't see and you can't demonstrate is actually there is not an avid comparison at all to secular's point.
Well, I
totally agree.
Okay, but we're talking about context here. I mean, it could be any God, dogs. What I'm talking about is love. Actually, show me how love is real. Like demonstrably.
Why does that matter? Let's say that Dave. Hang on a second, Mason. Just give me a second. I'm gonna lay it all out for you. We can walk through this together. Not trying to be antagonistic, I swear. But let's take the two options here. One option is that Dave and I can provide absolutely solid, super duper robust demonstration of the existence of love. And let's say on the other side, Dave and I just throw up our hands and go, yep, can't do it. What is the consequences of either of those? Because in neither case, no matter which route we go down, this being an argument for the existence of a deity or the supernatural seems to absolutely not follow to me. So help me with that. Give me what those connecting threads are supposed to be here, I guess.
Okay. Well, it's very important because what you're doing is you're subscribing to an invisible feeling, basically. I'm asking you to show me how love is real. You're telling me,
Disagree.
well, I can care for the dog or I can lust for the girl or you can do whatever you want, but you're not showing me love. And this is the important thing is that God is not it can't be demonstrated. Much like
well, there
love.
you go. I think that's great. I'm glad you finally admitted that. I'm excited to welcome you into the depths of hell with the rest of us non-believers. If you're just saying your God is equivalent to a concept, then congratulations, you're in good company of people like Andrew Tate,
But
for
aren't
instance.
you doing the same thing?
But not in the slightest, because what the difference is, once again, is you are claiming that there is nothing to point to when it comes to love, but that's just flat out not true. What we don't have is a demonstration of love in the same way that we have a demonstration of the existence of tables or chairs or my freaking hair. Like, yeah, I can't hold love in front of me in a cup, but nobody has ever made that claim, right? Nobody has ever once even come close to saying that that's what love is. We know that love is. I don't give a crap. Look, hang on. I'm going to mute you for just a second here, Mason. And the reason why I'm going to mute you is I don't give a crap what even Dave Warnock says about love. You know why? Because I'm not Dave. Dave is here and he can speak for himself and I can speak for myself. And if you want to talk to Matt, go talk to Matt. Like, he does this all the time. I'm sure you can find a way to reach out to him. But what I'm saying is love absolutely is a different thing than like water or ice cubes. Yeah, I totally understand that. It's a concept, right? But it's a concept that is inherently tied to a lot of physical things that we can manipulate, that we can go, hey, I got a thought in my squishy noggin here, and if I do this thing, this person will express they feel this way. When we do that a shit ton of times over and over and over again, that's a pretty good demonstration. The problem with the analogy that you're making and the connection that you're making is that you keep claiming that the chemicals, I mean, you haven't exactly said this, but hang on, I'll finish the analogy. You keep claiming that the chemicals in the head are the demonstration of the physical love that I put in a cup, but it's not. We agree with you on that, and you agree with us on that. And so when you go back to, well, these people spend all their time at the church and they read the scripture over and over and they get the feeling inside of them, the only thing that is demonstrating is the existence of those same chemicals, the existence of that book, and the existence of that church and community. You're not showing the thing that is actually what you're trying to say is real. And again, if really at the end of the day what you're saying is, well, God's just a concept, cool, man. But then recognize that what that means is that you are not falling into the boat as the vast majority of other believers out there for a very long time, because those people would hardcore disagree with you and say God is not just a concept. So I got you unmuted again, Mason. I know I spouted a lot at you, but please go ahead, shout back to us.
I was laughing because you actually stumped me. That was an excellent answer, actually.
Well, thanks. I'll take that.
You just checkmated me because now I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and try to understand.
Yeah.
Because you're right. It can be shown. First of all, I didn't say it was chemicals, though. I denounced that idea. But
sure.
Fine. Just for the record, I didn't think that was. But
that's fine. But
your answer was right on the money, though.
I want to say, because I want to take the opportunity to just say how important I think that is, Mason, because in these discussions, unfortunately, and I've seen it on many different sides, in these discussions, there are times when a really good point is presented, right? Like, I know it may hurt some of our viewers for me to say this, folks, but look, There are rational theists out there, guys. There are people who believe, who have robust understandings of that belief, right? And they do have justification. I think there's still a problem with their arguments, sure, but that doesn't mean that they're just idiots that are just crapping out their mouths all the time. Of course not. And it's valuable in these discussions that everybody, on whatever freaking side we're on, take a moment when there really is something that shakes our belief, that shakes our understanding, for us to just put up our hands and go, you know what? Hang on a second. That's actually kind of good, man. Let me think about that. And
That's good.
And that's what I'm gonna encourage, Mason, is like, I know myself, Dave, we will be back on this show. There are other phenomenal hosts that are coming up next week and the weeks after. They can't all be as good as me and Dave, but you know, whatever. But no, I'm teasing. But seriously,
Mason, let me add to what Secular
Can I
said.
throw one more point though in there?
Just a second. Let Dave chat, and then we'll kick it right back to you. Okay.
What I wanted to say, Mason, is I really appreciated you acknowledging that Secular made a point that made sense to you. And so what I would really encourage you to do, rather than when you said I got to go back to the drawing board, that's really good. What I would encourage is, don't go back to the drawing board with the assumption that what you think about God is already true. Don't just go back and say, well, I know God's true, so let me find another way to demonstrate that. Let me find another way to prove what I already know to be true. Go back with the open-mindedness to perhaps consider that maybe he's not there. Maybe what you've always thought about him was incorrect, because I did that. Once I did that, I realized I didn't have good evidence for God. Once I quit trying to prove my point and rather went with an open mind to investigate the claims of this God, the claims of the Bible, the claims of the church, then I was able to more clearly look at what was there and what was not there. I'm not trying to get you to say there's no God. I'm trying to get you to open your mind to the possibility that what you've always thought may be wrong. I know that can be scary. It was for me, and it is for anybody I've ever known who's deconstructed their faith. It's a very scary place to be because you've got a lot riding on it. Most people do. But it's a more honest place to be. So when you go back to the drawing board, consider that maybe just wipe the slate clean and start from zero and then see where that takes you. Just a thought.
Totally.
That's interesting because it is a scary place, because if I get very objective with it, as objective as I can, I realize truly this might just be almost like a dream. Like there's no beginning, there's no end. We're here, we blip in and out. And the idea that there's no God or anything like that, it just scares the crap out of me. And I think a lot of people actually, go into God because of that fear subconsciously. They don't. It's just, you want that to be above you. You don't.
Sure.
It's too scary without it, but
it's comforting. I mean, yeah, for sure. And I get why walking away from, that comfortableness is problematic, for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
The issue for me at the end of the day, right? If we really want to tally up all the marks on all the sides, where I find it shakes out time and time again is taking a little bit more of that uncomfortableness right up front and just biting the freaking bullet and saying, you know what? Maybe all this magic and stuff isn't out there to help me. Maybe there isn't anybody that is, watching me and guiding me to make sure that I don't slip and fall and hurt myself, sure. It sucks, man. It sucks, especially right up front, because that's like point number one. Point number one, you step out into this game of life and you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Wouldn't it be awesome if there was like a safety net to make sure that I never got screwed over so bad? And so, yeah, it's like you got to step out onto the field knowing full and well that, that's not really the case. But here's where I think the beauty of that is. Here's where I really, really find the most gorgeous thing about life is that we get to do that, Mason.
Mm-hmm.
We get to be that safety net for other people. We get to provide that comfortable space, and the only freaking moment we are for sure that we have. We could all just be in a turtle's dream in outer space. We sure could be, man. We could just be a bunch of brains in a bunch of different vats. Totally freaking possible. But it seems like at the absolute most basic, it seems like this time we're here.
Mm-hmm.
And because we have that for sure, let's do our best to actually understand the world around us, even if it makes us a little bit uncomfortable, because that's the only way we start making others more comfortable. That's the only freaking way, man.
It's scary.
And
It's scary.
would
Life
you
is
say that
scary.
looking at
Life
it
is scary.
objectively?
Go ahead, Mason.
Well, I've been following this show for a long time, and you guys are really, really trying, and I applaud it, because a lot of people might be going over to atheist. But the thing is, when you say what's demonstrable, give me the evidence. I was just pointing out to, hey, look, love is not really demonstrable, much like God. What if it can't be? I mean, if you can demonstrate God, you wouldn't need God. You can create God. If you can demonstrate, you wouldn't even need it. So
I disagree. I disagree. If you could demonstrate
Well,
God, that would give you more reason to need it, because if the God of classical theism is real, the attributes that this God has is one that you absolutely want on your side. Like, this God can literally move mountains. I mean, pick the mountain up and cast it into the sea. Like,
Well,
I'm not praying for a soccer team to win anymore. I'm praying for millions of dollars and for all the children at St. Jude's to be healed. You know what I'm saying? But we don't have
Right.
that demonstration. We don't.
What you're saying, I think, Mason, is if God could be demonstrated, you don't really need faith. And that's a problem. You're right, but it's also the problem with this whole thing is that everything hinges on faith in an undemonstrable and an undemonstratable God. And he's just a concept. That's why you have so many different kinds of gods and so many different kinds of religions, because everyone has kind of created their own. And many of them argue with each other about which one is the most correct, when my argument is we need none of them. And, I think to the previous point, it's scary to consider facing life without a God as a safety net. But don't you want to face life in the most accurate way rather than the one that's the most comfortable? And I think once I got on the other side of faith and realized that the God I'd believed in was not true, and I'm here on my own. Yeah, it's scary, but it's also powerful, because it puts the power in our hands. Not that we're wanting power, but what we do with our life is our own to do. We're writing our own story. No one else is writing it for us. And we get to be there for other people. I like what Sarah Bareilles says in her song Orpheus: when the bottom drops out, perhaps my love will be someone else's solid ground. That's what I live for. That's the thing that makes life beautiful, is that we can be each other's solid ground when the bottom drops out.
Yeah.
No gods needed.
Wow. Yeah, that's very interesting. You know what? I'm going to walk away from this phone call going, I got it. And then 20 minutes later, I'm going to be stuck back into my thoughts of, but what if there? How do you guys maintain this kind of thinking, though? Because life is scary, and suppose I get cancer or something, I'm going to be like, the first thing in my man, I'm praying to God.
Funny you should mention that.
Yeah.
Mason, I have ALS. Do you know what that is?
Oh my God, my mom died of that. My mom died at 55 years old of ALS. Yeah, she only lasted 6 months long, which I find to be, I don't know. It was a really rough patch for me.
I'm sorry to hear that, dude. I know that was tough. How old were you when she passed?
28 years old. I'm 35 now.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry for your loss. I've had ALS for about 5 years.
It was called sporadic ALS. So in sporadic ALS, that's usually the age, because in familial ALS, I would have probably had it. It would have been genetic. So it's sporadic ALS.
The genetic kind's only about 5%. I have the sporadic kind as well. And I have a very, if you notice, I have to lean back because my neck is weak and it's getting weaker. But
Oh, God.
I'm sorry for your loss, first of all. But to your point about what if you got cancer? Well, I left my faith about a dozen years ago, and then about 5 years ago, I got ALS. I was diagnosed 4.5 years ago, but I've been living with ALS as an atheist, and that diagnosis did nothing to rock me. In other words, I didn't not once consider running back to God and wishing that there were a God to fall back on, because that doesn't comfort me at all. What comforts me is the love and community of the people around me who are here with me in my fight against this disease. And that's I have a community of friends and family who just support me incredibly, and I don't need a supernatural deity or some belief in something beyond what I can see and feel and know is true. And it doesn't shake me at all to deal with this disease as an atheist. I'm going to die, and my belief is that once I die, that's the end. There's nothing at the end of that. What that does, it causes me to value this life all the more.
Yeah,
absolutely. And my heart goes out to you, and I hope everything goes well with you. And you really much rocked my whole belief system here, because you answered my question ultimately. Is what if you have ALS and you still are maintaining that courage and
my T-shirt? I am
and
dying out loud. That's my thing.
I'm dying out
anyway.
loud. I'm gonna make that a phrase and put it on a shirt.
Yeah, you can go buy one actually.
You can
got
get
them
one
on
from
sale.
me.
Yeah, he's got them on sale,
Really?
man. So yeah, you can get a nice Dave Warnock personalized T-shirt for you, buddy. And Mason, we're gonna go ahead and move on. But before we did,
man, thank you so much.
Thank you for your call, Mason.
brother. But before we let you go, I do just want to let you know, if you're not watching the live stream right now, there is a whole bunch of people sending some love and support to you in the chat. And don't forget, man, we have a bunch of awesome communities that are run by fans, maintained by the fans, and just a bunch of people get together in them when we're not here on Sundays. So go check out the Facebook, go check out the Discord and stuff, and chat with some people, man.
You're a good dude, Mason.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you had to deal with the loss of your mom to ALS.
Yeah,
really
absolutely,
sorry, brother.
You guys, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Mason.
thank you so much, and you go have a great rest of your day, and give us a call back, man. Like if you get something else stuck in your head and you're not sure about it, or you feel like you've got, a really solid argument you use, like, shout it out to us. This is genuinely what we are here for. And I think, Dave and I said it both a couple of times on that call and a bunch of times in our lives, as well, is just, we are the only support that we can give ourselves and each other. It's us, it's people. And it is one of the greatest feelings in the world.
Too. It's enough.
It's absolutely enough.
There's no deficiency there.
Exactly.
It's all we need.
Exactly. When someone is there to support you and care about you, or you are there to support and care about others, I don't need a cup of love, because I fucking know it's real in that moment, man. But we're going to grab a call here in just a minute. I have to read some of these awesome super chats, mainly because they make me smile. So we've got 666 from Hell's Bells. I'm trying to make friends, so here's some money with a little winky face. Love you, SR and Dave. You are amazing people.
And I'll tell you, friendship.
Yep, it worked. It worked. You now have 2 more friends. We are definitely in your camp now. And then we've got Park Bum, who has been a member for 2 months, sent us $20. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for supporting rational thinking, guys. If a man says he loves his partner, but they don't love him back, is he then justified to lock them in a basement? Would that be a loving, moral person or an abusive monster? Yeah, I would definitely say the abusive monster.
We don't recommend that behavior.
Yeah,
no.
do not do that. Do not follow the God of the Bible, because that's how that would go. And finally, we've got $10 from Hangfa Shi, saying, not that I need an excuse, but seeing Dave as co-host gives me an excuse to light this Bolivar. So yes, you have
light her up.
a good freaking time doing that.
That's a cigar. For those of you that don't
that's
know.
what I figured. Yeah. Dave is, Dave, he's this heathen going out there, smoking big cigars with his
Smoking
fancy
stogies.
clothes. And well, let me tell you guys a couple of ways that you can support the ACA and this wonderful channel. If you like what we do and you would like to support us, one of the easiest things you can do is you can become a member for as little as 99 cents a month. Just click the join button below the video, and this will give you access to super duper awesome custom special chat emojis. If you are a member, like Parkbum, actually, go ahead and just spam that chat with as many of those cute little faces as you can. We've got a bunch of them now, J Mike and Forrest. We've even got Shannon and Kenneth. So yeah, there's some others too. You can also send us a super chat with a question or comment, and we'll read it live on air during the show, like you've already seen. And then there's this other way. It's incredibly complicated. It takes a lot of effort. You just like the video and subscribe to the channel. I mean, seriously, if you haven't done that already, Dave and I have been here for almost an hour providing you with really great insight.
Cheap entertainment.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, if that doesn't deserve a single click of the button on that little thumb down there, I just don't know what does. You don't want to make Dave sad, okay? You don't want to make Dave sad. So like the freaking video already, because it costs you nothing, and it's super duper easy to do. So with that, we are going to go out to Colorado. We're going to talk to Lisa, she, her pronouns. Hey, Lisa, you sound like you've got something interesting to talk with us about today. What's on your mind?
Hey, Lisa.
Hello, Dave. Hello, SR. Yeah. On the one hand, well, I'll say I've been deconstructing for about 2.5 years now. And the more I deconstruct, the more I love it. But one thing it has done is it's really brought to the forefront of my mind something that I never really thought much about. No. And what it really pertains to most of all is certain times in my life, in some cases very recent times, when I felt like how can I say it? You know how it feels when a very deep instinct rises up in you and you say, I need to take care of this now, or I need to rethink this, or, I need to take a different direction, or whatever it may be, when you feel like you've really got that thing inside you telling you, yeah, I need to do such and such. But there have been some times in my life when that instinct, for lack of a better term, has been so poignant and so just out of the blue, as if it's something that I would never have thought of, because it's coming from a completely different direction from as opposed to how I typically approach things. So with this said, that's what I find myself exploring now, even though I'm largely deconstructed. And yeah, the God of the Bible is beyond appalling. But it's brought up another question for me, something that I need to explore and try to find an answer to if there is one. But that's what prompts me to call today, because I had no idea where to start searching for an answer to this. Why is it that some... Oh, sure, jump in. Yes, please.
Yeah, because it almost sounds like something that you're dealing with now was one of the biggest things that I dealt with when stepping out of faith, religion, or belief in like the supernatural and stuff. I had this very, very deep feeling that every single tiny little thing that happened in the world for me was a specific message that was put there by the universe. Like there was this guiding thing. It wasn't like, a guy in the clouds with a long beard, but it was like the universe as a whole. And there was something about, all of existence that needed to send me a specific message, and a lot of times the way that would present itself was sounds very similar to how these experiences are for you, where it almost feels like there is this thing that I can tell is technically coming from me, but like almost like somebody just whispered the answer into my ear first, and then I said it out loud, So there's a lot of different things about that, right? And the first one I think is really, really important to at least start to have a good understanding of is just coincidence. And a lot of us feel like we understand coincidence, but none of us have ever actually spent 10 years straight rolling a six-sided die back to 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 back. Because when you do that, a string of 10 sixes is no longer particularly fascinating. It's almost guaranteed to come up, right? So because of our very limited understanding of the universe as a whole, because of our very limited time on Earth, we have difficulty when it comes to these intensely large numbers. Did you know? Actually, there are numbers out there that exist, but could never actually be spoken because the only way to do so would be to list every single digit in every single place, and they go on for 100 million digits, and so you couldn't even get halfway through it before you would just die. Now, does that mean that that number's not real? No, of course not. It is absolutely out there, right? But the difference is that our understanding of this small slice of what is existence doesn't really allow us to recognize that and internalize that in a way when we have this experience that is a 1 and a Googleplex, which is actually a number, just in case anybody's wondering, a very, very large number. That 1 and that ridiculous chance, guess what? If we have more chances than that, statistically speaking, it's probably going to happen. And so what we see is we see the chance before that and it doesn't happen. And then we see the chance where it happens and we're like blown away. We're like, oh my gosh, this has a 1 in a freaking ridiculous chance of happening. How could this happen? This must be specific. This must be a message. The universe must be telling me something. No, it's just that at this point, we have rolled the dice enough that we can get that really weird moment where 12 times in a row you roll a 6. And it feels weird and it feels strange, but go ask anybody that's played like D&D, for instance, for a long time. I guarantee you they have a story where it's like, man, I don't know what happened, but I just like rolled a bunch of 20s just back to back to back to back. Never had that happen again in my life, So there is that aspect of coincidence that exists in our world, but is also very difficult for us to really, really understand. So I would offer at least that as one potential place to go look into. And there's a bunch of mathematicians and stuff that talk about it. And it's a little dry sometimes. I get it, Lisa, but it helped me kind of feel better about those really odd occurrences. And then the other thing I would suggest is go look into things like free will and go look into things like how the mind processes information and stuff. I know Shannon Q has a bunch of really wonderful stuff out there where she goes deep into the brain processing and how do we learn stuff and how do we synthesize things, because that is what our brain does, right? It takes in all of this information and information that we don't even realize we're taking in. Like we think about touch, we think about smell, but we don't think about the orientation of our body, like our head being up here and our feet being down there. But if any of us were completely flipped upside down in a completely dark room with no sound and we couldn't touch anything, we'd still know we were upside down. Like we would absolutely feel that. And so because of all of that information that the brain is bringing in very casually, right? Like you don't think about it, but you constantly feel stuff on your skin. When the wind comes by, you're, get a little prickle here and there, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's probably a little windy. Well, that just kind of goes into your brain passively. And then 5 minutes down the road, when you're getting ready to throw that football or whatever, or kick that soccer ball, I've been watching the World Cup, so it's in my brain. That wind plays into it, and you remember that, but you never really like consciously said, "Oh my gosh, it's windy. Maybe I need to put this out just a little bit more towards the 18." But let me shut up at least for a second. Maybe some of that resonated with you, and maybe Dave has some good stuff to throw in here. But what'd you think about any of that, Lisa? Any of that valuable?
Yeah,
You can say no.
It gives me something to it. It gives me something to explore, and thank you for mentioning the videos of Shannon Q, because that really might delve into it, because it to me, what is really the crux of all of this is, if I don't know, it's kind of hard to put into words that really explain it well, but it just seems to me that if you're going about your business, or you're undertaking whatever it is you're doing that day, and you're also putting a lot of effort into the project or whatever it is that you're doing, and then all of a sudden, as I said, as if out of nowhere, almost like a directive from the sky, so to speak, if something occurs to you, something that you've actually thought of before, but never did for very strong reasons. You never did it. So it just feels like I'm missing something here.
I know I said
to get us.
I know I said I was going to let Dave jump in, but I want to play this game with you real quick, Lisa, because this helped me in this kind of moment. Okay. So, and again, it has to do with like free will. And this ultimately led me down the route to the acceptance that, hey, it doesn't seem that we do have free will, Now, I'm not trying to push that on you or anything. You make up your own decisions on that, but play this game with me. Okay. Do you go watch movies? Do you like movies?
Oh, I used to like them years ago. I don't find myself watching them very often anymore.
Pick one movie from your childhood that you remember watching. Pick one and just tell me what it is.
Oh, wow. You mean childhood or
anything? Just any movie that comes to your mind, just the very first one.
Lawrence of Arabia.
Awesome. Now pick the second one. What's the second one? What's the next movie, Lisa?
That comes to mind, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Why didn't you pick that one first? You had access to it the whole time. You knew the name of it. You've watched it. You remembered it. Gregory Peck, right? Great movie. Great book.
Yep.
Why didn't you pick that one instead of Lawrence of Arabia first?
Well, let's see. Maybe just because even though they both came out in the same year, Lawrence of Arabia. Oh, I'm not even sure why. Well, I love the music.
Okay.
And
that's okay. Stop right there, though, Lisa. That's okay, because the fact that you're having to think about this so hard right now is a really good indication, because it almost as if that just came up from within you without you really having to do anything. Almost as if, somebody just came over your shoulder and whispered it in your ear real quick. You didn't actually go through a process of saying, well, let's pick Lawrence of Arabia because I'm a really big fan of the real to life story. And I think it's a good understanding of, how, countries battle and like individuals. You didn't really go through all of that. You just kind of pulled it out of nowhere, seemingly from the depths of your brain. And that's okay, because it seems to be the case. That's how we do everything. And that's all right. That's just the way that our brain works. It holds all of this information And then every so often, it'll just pick something. And yeah, it feels like in that moment, almost like we're not picking it. Maybe there's this external force that's picking it for us, and that's why it popped into my brain. But in reality, it just seems like that's what we're all doing all the freaking time. And that was something that led me that was something that led me down the route of eventually accepting, hey, I don't have free will. Nobody does. And we're just all kind of, dominoes falling, in place and whatnot. And maybe a little bit more understanding of that will help next time you have that feeling and you think, gosh, I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know why I'm picking this or why my brain is doing this. Maybe that'll help a little bit. I don't know. Does it at all? Or should I have just let Dave talk? It's probably the second one, but
No, I feel like it's opened a little door for me in my brain, a new avenue to start exploring. So that's cool.
Good.
That's cool.
Good.
Well, to that point, I'm just going to add this. I don't need to say a lot more, but just remember that if you're deconstructing from Christianity, you're used to your neural pathways in your brain there's grooves that have been worn in there. You're used to believing that an external force is guiding you, speaking to you. This God is speaking to you, answering your prayers, guiding you, showing you his will, so on and so forth. So that's a pattern that you've developed in how you approach your day, your life. And so when you get a thought randomly, you're assigning some kind of external force to it that doesn't need to be there. Like Secular said, that's just a thought that came up from within yourself, but you're used to assigning an external force to that thought. You're used to it being connected to something other than just you within yourself. We get used to these patterns, and so part of deconstructing is truly not just deconstructing your faith in a God, but deconstructing how you think about things, how you approach life, how you do your days, what your day looks like, what's important, what's not important. Deconstructing everything about who you are and how you live life. And so all that has to be reconstructed once it's deconstructed, and you start developing different ways of thinking about things and different ways of even thinking about how you think. And all of that is something that takes time, and you're used to a certain way of doing things, and letting go of that way of doing things or the way of thinking that you're used to, it can be a little disorienting and it can be a little confusing. So I think that may be also a part of what you're experiencing here.
That's an absolutely awesome point, Dave. Because yes, we don't think about the physical structure of our brain that much. But seriously, exactly what he said is true. And we know this. We've done brain scans on people, and we can see that the brain has this amazing ability to rewire itself. Unfortunately, that wiring can be hijacked and told that what is normal and what is correct is actually wrong. Right. And that's where I think a lot of the big problem of religion is. It's because they hijack those neural pathways and those grooves that, stick in our brain because that's valuable. That helps us remember not to touch the hot stove. Right. We did it once and our brain was like, damn, that sucks. But again, yeah, it can be hijacked if people have, poor methodologies for truth or bad motives. So, but shout back to us. Give us your final thoughts here, Lisa. And
keep going on your journey. Sounds like you're doing pretty good on it. So hang in there, girl.
Oh yeah, it was so rough at first, but it's been worth it by the ton. But just in closing, I wanted to take the time to thank you, Dave, also for what you said, because it brought to mind a very old family picture. I was in my Sunday clothes. We were walking out of church, and I wasn't even in kindergarten yet. So that's how young I was when. I must have grown up in that from day one, and I need to take. I think a closer look at this whole component of it. I guess a good way to say it in closing is I'm realizing at this stage in the deconstruction, I'm realizing that it's a far more personal process to go through than I would ever have suspected. And maybe that's the stage I'm in right now. It's really delving into just super personal, super deep areas of who I grew up to be and how I grew up and what I was taught all the time I was growing up. So thank you so much, both of you fabulous guys, because this definitely has given me something to explore here, and that's great.
Awesome.
And don't forget, Lisa, there are some absolutely incredible organizations like Recovering from Religion and the Secular Therapy Project. And they are wonderful, wonderful places with some amazing people that work there. And you can just give a call up to Recovering from Religion any old time. And you don't even have to chat about God or anything. Just have somebody to talk to that's trained and, can sit there and listen and direct you to a licensed therapist if necessary. So it doesn't hurt to take a little bit of extra time on yourself, Lisa. So I'm glad you're doing it. So thank you
Thanks for the call.
much. Yeah, that was a wonderful, wonderful call. I always love those. And again, just a really good demonstration that, no God's coming through to help us. The only way we do this is ourselves. We have to help each other. So with that, we got $5 super chat from Roger Wenzel saying, thank you so very, very much. Thank you, Roger. We appreciate your support, and everybody else out there that's, hanging out and watching with us now and in the future. We greatly appreciate it. And if you don't want to see our gorgeous faces, that's fine. We get it. We'll cry off camera. But we do actually have a channel that houses all of the shows of the ACA in audio podcast form. You just check out tiny.cc/AEN podcast, and you can listen to all the latest shows from the Atheist Experience, Talk Heathen, Truth Wanted, the Nonprofits, and others on one great channel. And if you're thinking to yourself, my gosh, that SR guy looks so great in that super duper awesome Atheist Experience t-shirt, well, just know that you can actually get some stuff too. Like, we've got this limited edition t-shirt for this month that says, hello, I'm an atheist. Why, you ask? Because believing in a God who sacrificed himself to save us from himself is a bit much to ask of any logical person. So go check out tiny.cc/merchaca, and you can get all of the great things that we have, like the t-shirts, the hoodies, the mugs, the phone cases. I don't know. Maybe I'll just one day come on here and just have like an AXP hoodie with an AXP t-shirt and the what do you call them? Spaghetti straps? I don't know. The only other word is wife beater, and I hate calling them that. No. So I don't know what to, I don't know. Tank top, son of a, anyway, I don't know where that came from. Needed a God there. Anyway, finally, I have got to say very, very nice words about our lovely, lovely crew. We absolutely could not do this if we didn't have these incredible people. They are there constantly checking up on us, yelling at us when we do things wrong, which is surprisingly more, than you'd think, but they get us in line and they make us look and sound as best we can look and sound. I think we're gorgeous.
I love the cat cam there.
It's literally the best part of the crew. I mean, they should just have the giant cat cam in the center. But whatever. I guess those other people do work too. But we have even more wonderful calls, and we've got some theists that could change our mind today, Dave. So let's go to New York. We've got Yoel, him, says that he believes in a different God. Well, Yoel, you're talking with SR and Dave Warnock. What kind of God do you believe in?
Basically, hello first. Basically, I'm actually referring to the God of the Bible and the God of actually Judaism and many other religions, but there's a totally different interpretation that I've seen a lot in different people, which makes it like a totally different God. So it's actually a totally different God. And
okay, real quick, Yoel, real quick. I think we can kind of streamline this a little. So I think you just tell us kind of what what version of
So-
God you believe in, and then
Describe
just
the God you believe in.
yeah,
for
and
us.
then just tell us why
so-
that God is what you believe in. Pretty simple.
I will first actually give just go through the basic God that a lot of people believe in and people don't believe in, and
No,
just
we
make
know
sure that
we know what
and
that
say-
God looks like. Let's
Yeah.
cut to the chase. We don't need a history of God here.
Yeah.
Just tell us the God you believe in. Define that God for
So-
us, and then tell us why you believe in that God.
Right.
So let's put it that way. You ever heard about the God of Spinoza?
Sure.
Does that make sense to you? Did it make sense to you,
it's-
the God of Spinoza? I mean, it looks
Spinoza's God,
he's
like
just
the
making fun of
universe
everyone.
itself is God. Like it's
He's
this
God.
vague
Yeah.
and
It looks like-
ambiguous, worthless concept that doesn't actually explain or clarify anything. So that's why that one doesn't exist.
Yeah. That's the reason why it looks like he doesn't explain anything, and it's basically
doesn't.
because basically what most people refer to is like, I would call it like a Superman type of God. God has to be a conscious. God has to be someone with thoughts and feelings. So it doesn't make
Okay.
sense to say that the universe is like very super powerful. Is like we can't understand him because he's somewhere.
Is that
like,
the God you believe in?
advanced version.
Is Yoel? Tell us
that's not the God.
what God you believe in. Define the God you believe
Okay.
in.
Right.
So it's a very deep concept, and just like I just heard you explain to someone how much you have to take the time to actually digest whatever they believe, it's like a complete rewrite of everything you know about the universe type of thing. But so basically, the idea of God is you can remove the conscious part. We can agree or disagree. We'll come back later about if it has to be conscious. But the idea of God is actually the ultimate reality, the ultimate decider. So let's say a question like,
Okay. Hold
how
on.
does he allow?
I think we can just stop right there. Honestly, Yoel, I think we
Yeah.
can just stop right
This
there.
is getting
Okay.
weird.
And
So,
here's why we can stop that is because we're in the same place where I just cut you off at the knees a couple minutes ago when you said, "Hey, you know Spinoza's God?" And my response was, "Yeah, it's essentially somebody using a label in place of actually trying to clarify or explain anything. And we have other labels that already do that way better. If what you're saying God is at the end of the day is just absolutely equivalent, no difference whatsoever from whatever the hell is actually really going on in reality, that's cool, man, but that's called reality. And attempting to try to bring God into that equation is not only worthless, but harmful, because now we are less clear about what the hell is going on. So I'm going to unmute you here in just a moment. I'm going to get you back in. And I just want to know if what you're saying when you say God is just really equivalent to reality.
yeah.
But it's similar, but much more.
Okay, so what
that's what I'm
addition
saying,
does
yeah.
your God have that reality doesn't? If you're saying this thing is not conscious, it's not a conscious agent, not necessarily interacting in the world around it, it sounds like your definition is essentially worthless and potentially even worse than that.
That now basically is that the God, we can discuss if it's conscious or not, but
Well, what do you think it is? Do you think it's conscious?
it's above consciousness. Our consciousness is actually.
I don't know what that means. What is above consciousness?
What the hell, yo? What is above consciousness?
Yeah.
Define that.
Yeah, please.
And you let me finish what I'm saying.
No, I'm not. We're not going to let you babble about
Right.
stuff that makes no
Right.
sense. What is above consciousness?
Yeah.
Okay. You decided that consciousness is the ultimate thing. If there is a God, we must.
I didn't decide that.
No, I'm saying I can
didn't say
understand
that.
consciousness. We are conscious.
Yeah.
What is above consciousness?
Yes. Conscious is a tool to understand the world or to make.
Okay. What is above that?
I don't even think that's a great explanation for
Reality
consciousness.
is actually above that. Objective reality, our consciousness are only
Reality,
tools to
consciousness
understand
consciousness
objective reality.
helps us be aware of what's real. I'm
Right.
going to break this down because you're talking nonsense shit.
Yeah.
You're just babbling words that I don't even think you have a clue what they mean. What is above consciousness? And don't say reality.
Yeah.
Because that makes no
Why
sense.
is
We
it,
haven't.
why not? Just go and explain why it does
There's
not.
no clarification. There is no explanation. You have done absolutely
Yoel,
nothing
how does
here,
your God
Yoel.
help you? What does your
Right.
God do for you? Yoel, what does your God do for you? Why do you worship this God, whatever it is?
You didn't let me explain what I'm trying
No,
to
I'm not going to
Yoel.
let you babble this nonsense. We don't
Yeah.
have the
So-
time
so
for
if
this. I don't have the
I cannot
patience
explain
for
something if
this.
you don't allow
What?
me. So then that's
Yoel,
fine. So really,
Yoel,
Hang on,
Yoel,
Yoel. You're muted.
mute him. Yoel, what does your God do for you, and why do you worship this God? Because if you don't worship this God, it's not a fucking God.
Right. Okay.
It's just it's an abstract thought. It's beyond consciousness. It's beyond reality. You don't have a fucking clue what these things mean. You can't define them for us. We ask you simple questions. You can't give us a simple answer. You just babble on more nonsense. You have no idea what you believe or why you believe it, and yet you're calling into this show to try to convince us of it. Okay, now talk.
Unfortunately, he just dropped, Dave. But
Good.
that's okay. Look,
God, I've got no fucking patience for that shit.
I totally understand, and
Ugh.
I'm in the same boat. And the reason that I'm in the same boat on that, and this is really just for anybody else out there who is a believer and wants to call in. Please understand that Dave and I are not children. This is not the first time we have ever come across these concepts, okay? And yes, sometimes we'll ask, hey, that's a big word. Can you break that down a little bit for us,
And they just give us more big words that they don't have any clue what they mean.
Right.
I'm sorry. I try to stay calm and gentle on this show. I'm an old, tired man. But when people start babbling this nonsense that has no basis in anything that we can make sense of, that helps no one in the world, it's not a concept that's useful or coherent. They're just babbling nonsense.
Yeah.
Probably because they just want to hear themselves talk on a YouTube show.
Yeah. And
if that's all you got, don't waste your time, our time, or our viewers' time, because this show has a limited time frame and we're running short on that now. And we're not going to let you call in and talk that bullshit.
Right.
Call in with your definition of your God and why you believe in it. Something that's concrete, something that we can wrap our head around, something that we can actually have a conversation about. Yoel, you don't know what you're talking about, and you don't know what you believe in, and you don't know why. So you just wasted all of our time and made me mad.
And with so many incredibly important things happening on a daily basis, we're watching as individuals' lives are on the line on a daily basis in the United States and other places in the world right now. The people in Iran don't have fucking time for this ambiguous, worthless, nonsensical God, right?
It's just drivel. It's just verbal drivel.
Let's get to the point. Let's get to the meat of it. And I think I have faith, Dave. I have faith in our next few callers, okay? But before we grab them, I am going to tell you about something super duper cool that is happening in Austin, Texas, July 30th, this month of the year 2023. You can actually join us for live broadcasts of Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience. Talk Heathen will be hosted by Jamie Boone and Jamie the Blind Limey, and the Atheist Experience will be hosted by Christy Powell and Objectively Dan. Four absolutely wonderful, wonderful people and wonderful hosts. So you aren't going to want to miss it. The doors open at noon, and we hope to see you there. I was lucky enough to get down not too long ago, and I have to say it was a truly
it's a blast. I've done it twice, and
I
want to get back to Austin and do that again.
I
So,
know. It's so
I'm
cool.
gonna have to make that happen.
It's so much fun. And some days I understand how people feel. They got nothing going on. There's nothing good to watch. They just, they got time to kill, and they say to themselves like, man, if only Talk Heathen or the Atheist Experience were on right now. Well, the good news is they actually are, because we've got 2 24/7 live streams. AXP TV delivers a constant stream of shows, clips, and specials from the over 26, that's right, 26 seasons of the Atheist Experience. And now Heathen TV provides you with clips from Talk Heathen. So watch or simply listen to your favorite hosts and discover some hosts that you have never heard of before. Check out tiny.cc/AXPTV and tiny.cc/Heathen TV, and you can join in the fun. And literally, it does not matter when I have showed up randomly to watch those streams. There is always a bunch of people just chatting it up and having a good time in the live chat. So if you want to participate,
people can binge watch the shows I've been on. How about that?
I know. Isn't that super cool, man? And there's a lot of Dave too.
What a great world.
Yeah.
What a great world we live in.
I know. Seriously. More Dave is always good for
always.
So we are going to go down to Australia right now. We're going to talk with Ultimated Judeo Christian, he, him. You were chatting it up with Dave, Warnock, and Secular Rarity. I'm going to be honest. I'm probably going to call you like Ultimated or something because it's a long name. So I'm going to make it short. But yeah, UJC. But hey, UJC, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Sure. What you got for us today?
Biblically, God's revealingly our opposite. Agreed?
Say that again, please.
No.
Biblically, God's revealingly our opposite. Agreed?
Biblically, God is revealing as opposite?
Yeah. I don't think that sentence makes sense.
Biblically, God says he created us in his own image.
Right. And
in other words, the exact opposite of opposite.
Right. Yeah.
So I think we're off on a bad foot here.
Yeah. I don't think those words put together in the construction that you did actually tells us anything. It would be like as if I looked at you at a restaurant and said like, water bottle by the sawdust. Yeah. Can't you? Like those are all words, but together they have no meaning. So
what is your premise here today? What do you want to say?
Yeah, just get to the meat of it. Dave and I are hungry. Well, I'm hungry. I don't know about that.
Biblically, an ultimate fact is the opposite to temporalities.
No.
Agreed?
I would disagree. 100% disagree. You're using words incorrectly there. In one instance, you're talking about time. That's the temporal thing that you mentioned. And then another instance, you're talking about something completely different. You're talking about a correspondence between a statement and the world around us.
Instead of trying to give us riddles, why don't you
just tell us what you believe,
you called in about. Yeah. What is your point that you want to make here today? Quit talking in riddles, please.
I'm not talking in riddles. I'm trying to hopefully convert ye to Judeo-Christianity.
You want to convert us to Judeo-Christianity.
Great.
Okay, what is your best argument for Judeo-Christianity? Why would I want to convert to that?
Yeah, that's a good place to start. Why would we want to convert?
Give me a good reason. One.
Because non-finiteness is the necessary precondition to temporalities intelligibly, revealingly.
Jesus Christ.
Dichotomously.
Okay. So, what the fuck are you saying?
Let me mute.
First of all, I was a Christian for 37 years, which is a Judeo-Christian because that's where Christianity came out of. And so I've already believed in that, in the biblical Christianity for many years. And then I came to the conclusion that I was wrong about that. And I deconverted from that, and I don't believe in that anymore. So again, I'm going to ask you, what would be one good reason you would want to, why I would want to convert to Judeo-Christianity? And again, just tell me in simple language, simple words, because I'm a simple man. I grew up in Arkansas. I have no choice but to be simple. Tell me why, give me your best argument to convert me I'm in an elevator. We've got 20 floors, and you want to convert me before we reach the 20th floor. What's your best pitch, bro?
We're going to unmute you, UJC. Give us just a second. We will put a 60-second timer on the screen for you, and we will let it go. We will give you 60 full seconds. Give it to us. Give us your best answer.
I've got an open mind. Convert me. We're on the first floor. Before I get to the 20th floor, convert me to Christianity. Go.
Okay, so firstly, God as non-finiteness, preconditions temporalities, defaultly, and perfect
We're on the
being
5th floor, and I'm not
theology.
budging. So
I was given 1 minute, so I have to start again.
okay.
Nope, you got time. Keep going. You haven't said anything yet, but
So perfect being theology revealingly complements Genesis 1:1, entailing Judeo-Christianity, as Genesis 1:1 is a perfect fact from a perfect God as our ontological opposite.
What is? We're on the 13th floor. I don't know anything about the Bible. What does Genesis 1:1 say? By telling me Genesis 1:1 is the perfect verse from perfect God, I still don't know what that says. So you got to convert me. We're on the 19th floor.
yeah, it honestly doesn't even make any sense what you've already said, UJC. Like, I know it sounds great when you use words together, and there are some big words out there that exist in the English language that they have this mellifluous quality to them, the sanctity and the beauty and it's all fucking flowery nonsense,
UJC,
man.
don't ever become a missionary, okay?
Yeah,
That's not your calling.
Yeah, if this is the reason that you believe is because the non-finiteness of the existence of ultimated actuarial
Temporality.
blah, 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 blah,
Temporality
blah.
doesn't coincide with non-finiteness.
Yeah, come on, man. Just speak to us plain, okay? Just speak to us plain. Look, hey, I don't believe in the thing that you're saying, and you know why? Because I don't think there is any solid argument or empirical demonstration that gets me to it. So what would you say to another human being, not a fucking robot or somebody that just wants to sit around just stoned out of their mind all day babbling? What do you say to another human being who looks you dead in the face and says, "Ultimated, I don't believe in God. Why do you?"
I think you asked a contradictory question because I know the God of the Bible exists. There are two other points I want to address here.
I've muted you again, and I don't know.
He can't help himself.
I know. I don't know if you're watching the stream, and I don't know if you'll watch it in the future, but I'd like for you to watch the frustration on my face and Dave's face. And the reason why I would like for you to do that is because I then want you to go about your life, and I want you to have other conversations, UJC, and I want you to see whether or not that frustration appears in other people when you have other conversations. I highly, highly doubt that when you have a conversation about your job or your family and friends or literally anything else.
He talks this way at work. I just I can't imagine what kind of work he does.
There's no freaking way. There is no freaking way you behave this way and speak in this manner in any other category of your life. There is no way. You would never get out of bed. And Dave and I are here. We are asking you. This is your chance. Do you really want to go to heaven and stand there before God? And when he asks you, "Hey, Ultimated, hey, UJC, why didn't you even try to present anything in plain language to that old Dave guy and that silly SR feller?" Do you really want to stand there and have to answer for your lack of trying? You have an opportunity. Speak to me like I am a regular person.
I think you're just trying to sound smart, and it's not really working. You're kind of sounding foolish. and you're just putting big words together that don't really go together.
Right.
And we're asking you again, one more time, which is
Yep.
the last time I think we should give you.
I agree.
Speak to us in plain language. Tell me why I should believe in the biblical God that you claim you know is real. One more time in plain language.
You are
Why should I?
unmuted. You have the floor. Tell us. Convert us.
Okay, so finite facts revealingly are subject to an ultimate fact. Biblically, complementing Genesis 1:1.
What does Genesis 1:1 say? What does Genesis 1:1 say?
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
And why is that convincing to you?
I know. Where's the connection there? Like, what is the connection? If what you're saying, if
You're
what
gonna
you're
make-
saying is
You're going to
finite-
make secular Rarity go smoke pot later.
I
You
know,
know
it's
that, right?
like my brain's gonna explode, like live on camera here. Like, if what you're saying is that,
I'm gonna
like,
need a
hey,
gummy.
there
Yeah.
has to be something out there that's like necessary and eternal. First off, I don't even know that that has been demonstrated
It hasn't.
sufficiently. But let's just play. Let's just give boys. It has been demonstrated, but how in the fuck does that ever get you to anything supernatural or God? It's just I'm sorry, but UJC,
There's not a skyscraper tall enough for you to convert me on the way up. It's just I don't know. I don't know what you're doing.
I know.
I don't know why you're doing it.
But
if your goal is to convince people who don't believe, if your goal is to convince them to believe in the God that you believe in, you're not doing a good job.
Right.
You're doing a terrible job.
Right.
And if there are people watching that were on the fence, bro, you just pushed them over to the other side today.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was a believer, I would never say such ambiguous and vague crap. Like, I just wouldn't.
Ultimated finiteness leads to
axiomatic temporality,
words, semantics. I can't even.
I know.
I can't even.
Oh gosh. Oh man.
Temporality.
Yeah.
Temporality existentially exists with ultimated reality.
That's okay.
It's sad to end on that, but
it
is
kind of sad. But you know what? We still had a great show. I think it's still wonderful, and I think, a good place to end is just kind of reminding everybody that, look, again, there doesn't seem to be any other thing out there. There's no magic, there's no supernatural, none of that crap. And if we want a better world for ourselves, our friends, our family, the next generation, we're the ones that have to roll up our sleeves and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as of yet, we are 26 seasons strong and still not a single good justification.
I thought UJC was going to have it, but
I know
gave him
we were so
way too many chances.
I know.
I gave him a long elevator ride 3 times and he couldn't get it done.
Yeah, not going to shake my day. I am still going to have an awesome rest of my blasphemy-filled and heathen-loving life. But before we go, Dave, will you tell everybody a little where they can find you and maybe about this awesome organization that you've just started and stuff?
Yeah, IamDyingOutLoud.org. It's a nonprofit that is designed to push back against religious overreach in the world of healthcare, death, and dying, so that people don't have to put up with nurses proselytizing and praying for them if they don't want to. So, it helps people advocate for themselves in the healthcare space, which is something that is more of a problem than people might realize.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And it is awesome that there is finally an organization out there that is trying to regain some of that ground, because again, this is what religion does. time and time again is they take the most beautiful things about humanity and they say that it's their domain exclusively and that you don't get to play in it because you don't believe in my fairy tale and magic. And I couldn't think of a better person to be heading up that whole venture, man. You're an awesome, awesome person. And if there is anybody out there who doesn't know the amazing work that Dave Warnock has done, well, again, there are those 24/7 live streams. You can definitely find him here and a bunch of other places. If you just go out there on the Googles and you type his name in, you will be overloaded with great stuff for you to find and to keep you busy. So thank you absolutely so much to everyone that has been here. Dave, you were awesome. I love doing this stuff with you. Our crew was great, mainly the cat, but the rest of them were fine too. And all of you wonderful, wonderful people who are either checking us out live or in the future, remember, this is a space for you. This is a space where you can find a little bit of help with some of those uncomfortable things that we kind of just have to accept and move on. Again, maybe there isn't a safety net out there that's going to keep us all perfectly happy and comfortable our whole lives. But you know what there is? There's a bunch of really, really wonderful people that really, really do give a shit. And you can find a lot of them here. And, you can always check out our website at atheist-community.org to find out all of the latest things that are happening here. And feel free to reach out to us at tv@atheist-community.org. So once again, Dave, I just, anytime
Always
I'm around you, man, I freaking love it. My day's better. So
me too, bro.
We'll get the hell out of here and you guys
right.
go do some
Thanks,
sinning.
everybody.
We'll see you next time.
What will it take for you to start opening your eyes, to start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys? You think it's setting up your business, what goes on between my thighs? I wonder when we'll be rid of your lies.
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.